Today, I have had what I can only describe as one of the most stressful days I have had in years. And I wanted to record and reflect a little bit on it for a couple of reasons. Well, some of the main ones being I think it's a big part of like documenting the reality of what wanting to build a business implies for the rest of your life, like what it causes in the rest of your life, because a big part of the reason why today was so stressful had a lot to do with personal situations. But long story short is I had to go to the hospital with family and specifically my grandpa, who's not in the best shape, and spent but most of the day there. Like it has been back to back, completely nonstop, and I spent the entire day glued to my phone. And then I had like a new project kicking off, another project like internally their team was having a bunch of issues. I was getting messages from all directions, like shit's going down, and like it was just relentless replying. Also, Tuesdays are the day. Today's a Tuesday. Tuesdays are the days that I block out for calls. And so what I try to do is most weeks when people want to schedule calls and stuff, I will say Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. And so I will schedule like a block of like 6 or 7 back-to-back half hour slots that just, they just go call after call. And because I was at the hospital the entire time, I had to be canceling those. And I would rather not shift everything to another day. So I was like canceling as they came. And I missed some important, I didn't miss, I had to reschedule some calls that honestly were pretty important. There was one that I forgot to send the message and the guy was in the call waiting for me and I had to reschedule last minute. Like that is really annoying. I felt really bad and it was a call that I didn't want to miss. Then I was rushing home. I was texting. I was on a call in the car. I got back home. Then I had to hop into another call. I was having to call people before the hospital, at the hospital, trying to do work between places. Like barely had time to eat things properly, whatever. And you can't really just call like an out of office day, because you have obligations. There's a new project that a client wanted to get like. It's a through a personal relationship, but I know this guy and he wanted to move very fast, all these things, and so we had to hop on and move, and it's like my entire like I have like stuff at home completely falling apart. This thing needs to get going. We need to schedule a call. We need to do the kickoff. I need to send the documents to my designer, then schedule a call with the client. All of us go 3-way call. Like, it's a lot to juggle. For me, like. I'm not recording this as like it's not necessarily something I struggled with. I didn't, it was intense, but I really don't I'm not afraid of intensity in the slightest. But I think it's like an important reflection to acknowledge that like if you embark on the project of trying to build something, you undertake certain responsibilities which you cannot turn off, and I think that is it has costs that some people may not want, but also it is an interesting way to force a lot of lessons. It is this thing that you physically cannot turn off, because it's like riding a bicycle, right? Like it's like riding a bicycle up a hill. It's really hard at the start. It's really, really hard. And if you've ridden a bicycle before, if you've done it a couple times, it'll probably be a little bit easier. But if you haven't, you'll probably take a while to learn. And it's really hard as you start to push uphill. But once you get a little bit of momentum, once you get a little bit of momentum, you can stop pedaling and things will keep going. Like you still have to navigate, otherwise you're going to crash into an obstacle. Now you can hit the brakes, but then you're going to lose momentum. And then to build that up again, I could have said, oh, listen, I can't do the project, like take your money back, all this stuff, but that's going to hurt the business, right? And those two things are at odds all the time. And I think like it creates an interesting set of conditions that you would be hard pressed to replicate with other things, with other scenarios, and it creates I think a place where you can, yeah, you're kind of tested because like there was one conversation in particular that got a little bit heated. Um, and there's a lot of stuff falling apart and you have to let it go. You have to like bite your lip and just turn away and walk the other way because you like aggressive discussions never go anywhere, and you have to be able to walk away even though sometimes it's like, do you know the day that I've just had? Like, do you seriously need to be bringing this up right now? But the reality is like the rest of the world doesn't stop because you have that. And I've reflected on this before, um just having, because I the place where we went, the hospital, is the IPO, which is the oncological like center here in Portugal. And you obviously see a lot of cancer patients, and you like when you see the ones who are a little bit younger, who are like working age, and you see their like spouses kind of sit with their laptops and you know that they're working. It's like that's the reality for a lot of people. And if you even just have a little bit of good health, you're like, yeah, the world will not stop for you just because you are, you know, you have very unfortunate conditions, unfortunately. Um, People will be understanding, like in general. Like, I said, listen, I've got to move this. Like, I'm a family emergency thing. People are understanding. But at the same time, like you can't grind everything to a halt, right? And if people are frustrated with, they will bring something to you nonetheless. And a discussion will take place anyway, regardless of what day of the week it is and whatever's going on in your life, because you can't expect everybody to be able to do that. Like, they have their own stresses, they have their own worries too, and yeah, I think one of the nice things is that, like, if you stop and reflect for a bit, um, stressful days can give you, I don't know, at least for me, I think like they give a platform to reflect and create more empathy, because like you really don't know if like somebody cuts you off in traffic and you get really mad at them. It's like, sure, they did something that wasn't very nice, but at the same time, like, you don't know the kind of day that they're having. And like every once in a while, just giving, like, if you give the benefit of of the doubt, the one time that somebody's in a really really like awful place, doing that for them can really really go a long way. It's something I'd like to practice more of, like just trying to, I think, in general, do nicer things. Like the few times that you say the right thing at the right time, you can really like mark a person for a very long time. And I think this drives one of the principles which I like to keep, which is like kind of that of like kindness and treating everybody with respect, and like and really taking that seriously. Because like there's this one email from a teacher of mine that I remember, and I will remember for the rest of my life. I know for a fact, because I was leaving. It was a long story, but I was leaving, and like I had already left school physically for a while. This is during COVID, and I emailed a bunch of my teachers, and nobody replied because they were all too busy, whatever. But one of them replied, and he said, "Thank you for all the good times. You have been one of the best students I have ever taught. I wish you the best of luck," or something along those lines. But thank you for all the good times. You have been one of the best students that I've ever taught. It has been an absolute pleasure to teach you. Something like that. It was so marking for me. And at the time, because of the specific conditions, the story is irrelevant. But I was in a bit of a tough spot, and that made such a big difference to me. And like the email would have taken him 30 seconds to write. You know, the there was one time I wrote a card for a client of mine, and I gave it to him, and I think he messaged me or told me later that like, oh man, if you knew the week that I've had, you wouldn't like you would know how much of a difference this really makes to me, like how much it means to me. Like, I'm not really a cards guy, but this was so nice because I was just having such an awful week, and it was really good. Like, these small things can go such a long way, like such a long way, and just helping somebody feel a little bit better. And like, yeah, when people are stressed out, I think like trying to cut them some slack, and assuming the worst in their lives, like, isn't giving them the benefit of the doubt. is is really really nice. I don't know. It's a that reflection has gone a bit astray from what I was thinking about, but yeah, I thought it was a useful reflection, and I think it like yeah, sometimes like being a founder and taking on the kind this kind of responsibility means juggling all of this stuff, and it means that like I have an appetite for this stuff. I do. The reality is I have an appetite for responsibility and for stress, and so that's why in these situations, like I don't like crumble or break. I actually I think it's in a very like it's hard to say, but I almost like I think I can thrive under pressure. And so like if I think that is one of the conditions that you need to be able to commit to trying to build something very big, because you will come under pressure at some point or another for sure. Um, and I think it's yeah, it would be a useful reflection to try and document some of those instances and some of those situations in a very like specific way. Everybody says, oh, you know, like this, that, and the other is hard or stressful or whatever. Building a company is stressful, but I think like the things that really drive it home is when you have stories. And today was one of those stories. You know, there's definitely worse. I've had I've got other stories too, things that I regret not having documented. But there was a point in time, I've mentioned in several videos that I almost ran the company into bankruptcy in the first year, but I never really go into depth about like how I didn't completely fail. And I think I regret not documenting some more of those stories. I actually think I took some videos that are somewhere deep in my camera roll, which I haven't shared publicly, at least as of yet. I guess I'm not opposed to it, but um, like one time client payments. There was one client payment of like 2.5 grand that I was owed for 6 months and they didn't pay me. And I was very naive. I thought they would pay on time. And long story short, I didn't also know how to get clients. I was serving at an events job. So I had like this I was doing events catering from like 2 to 6 p.m. And then 6 p.m. onward, I would go to the side events of Token 2049 in Singapore, which is like a crypto event. Um, and there's one night in particular, I think I had $20 or $30 in my bank account. And I just remember feeling like, oh, that man, that's really awful. Like it's not fun. It's not fun, particularly because the type of people that I hang out with don't have $20 to $30. Like when I'm at the conference and things like that, like I'm trying to get a client, like you don't try and get a client with that little, right? Or I didn't want to be that. And like it drives a lot of anxiety, knowing that you cannot pay for something that's more than $30, which in Singapore is not going to take you a super long way. Like, you know, if you want to pay for somebody's drinks or something, $30 won't get you that. And yeah, like it's there's a video I think of me like in the pantry and stuff like that. I wish I documented some more of these stories like in more detail. And so I thought today would be a good opportunity to capture a little bit of that. You know, it wasn't necessarily a business struggle, but it was one of those days where like your personal life clashes, or just, you know, it has its own hiccup, and business clashed as well. Like today was a really stressful day, like independent of everything that happened in my personal life. Like just in the bit from the business and work side of things, it was very stressful because we were kicking something off and then discussing, like I had clients come at me from 3 different places, and I had to sort everything out. So, new project kickoffs are always busy as well. And this, like, I got asked to do a project and like turn around fast. Like the guy contacted me, he hit me up yesterday. We hopped on a call, we talked more, hopped on another call, sent him the invoice link, he paid it. We moved forward insanely fast at breakneck speeds for this type of project. And like, it was, you know, like, that added on to everything, that just piled on to everything else that was going on, which already wasn't little, and I already had a really really busy day planned out for today. um Yeah, but sometimes you will have those days, I suppose. Anyway, and then I was unwinding, and my brain was completely fried, and I decided I watched like a little bit of. I started watching Life on the Planet, which is a Netflix documentary. It's actually pretty good. But that was like at that point, my brain was completely deep fried, and I just clocked out for a little bit because I needed just the breathing space between all of the discussion stuff was like getting super messy. And you have to be the person to take the breathing space. Nobody's gonna tell you to do it. Nobody, like, you have to learn to force that onto yourself. You cannot, like, it is my opinion that you must treat people with at least as much, but preferably more respect, tolerance, and patience than you expect in return. And you have to like constantly exercise that, especially as you grow more, because you'll like both client side and team side, like you just have more surface area for more discussions, and you have to exercise a lot of those skills, the patience, all that stuff. Anyway, it's 1:30 a.m. right now. Some of the videos that some, I say some, there's a specific video about SaaS being overrated. If you want to start a software business, watch this, which I recorded 15 days ago, which has apparently become a fan favorite. Why I say fan favorite? It's become popular, and it has brought me a ridiculous amount of views in the past 48 hours. So, thank you to those of you who have watched that. Got a bunch of comments and stuff like that. So, yeah, shorts. Still improving shorts. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna call it an evening and get back to things tomorrow and just catch up on sleep for today.